It is exactly 9:46. News and views on Salam Media, and our final interview of the morning. We are going to be talking about the situation, and that is, of course, the flooding at Denver Settlement. Once again, we believe unlivable conditions for the Marshalltown fire victims, and this seems to be an ongoing thing. We are going to be talking with Mametlwe Sebei, President of GIWUSA. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Morning to you and to viewers of Salam Media.
Okay, so we understand that the situation at the Denver settlement is really unlivable and totally untenable. I'm looking at a picture of the shacks. They seem to be pretty sturdy. They're made of corrugated iron. Can you just explain to me more? How big is it? How many people are expected to live in there? There seems to be a doorway and a window. I can't quite see what the roofing looks like, and I presume that is where all the problems are being experienced from.
So this is, I think, the settlement where they've relocated the victims of the Marshalltown fire. I remember they relocated to a number of areas, and I think the others are at Wembley. So in this area where is Marshalltown, but also victims from other fires as well. There's about 240 shacks, according to the last information I've got there. And then they were built as emergency accommodation by government. And, approximately about 600 people live there. Now, this area or this, settlement is located in a basin, basically. So what it means is that all the water from the upper lying areas of Johannesburg, but also even from the sky, in a case of, precipitation, rain, and so on, that water gets trapped, in this basin. And that's the reason that it easily creates a flooding, even in a case of a very minor or a very mild rain, never mind when you have a heavy rain taking place. And this is a situation that was known to the municipality even at the time of relocation. We raised it because just 2 weeks before these shacks were built, there was actually a flooding in that area. And the neighbors warned, us and, many of our activists about it. And it was raised with municipality. And when it was raised, municipality promised to install a stormwater drainage system. And that agreement was actually made the order of court. And to this day, municipality has not complied. And what we have seen since relocation of this community, in November, we've just seen a repeated flooding after the other. So it is just for this community being a tragedy upon tragedy.
So, are you now planning on taking that court order and going back to court to say that they haven't fulfilled their obligations as per the court order? Because there could be repercussions then if they're not following through as per a court order.
The court order will provide for, a creation of the stormwater drainage system. It also provides for electrification of the shacks. It provides for provision of an adequate ablution facilities, as well as, water tanks in that area. That order does make provision to say that they should have complied within 6 months. So basically, and this is where our predicament is, we would have imagined that that means they would have fulfilled all their obligations, but they would always understand, if they are a caring government, that basically there are certain obligations that are more urgent than the other. What do I mean by that? I mean, when the court order says within 6 months, it doesn't mean you wait for 6 months, right? Any caring government would know that we are sitting with people here who are going to, who are survivors of a disaster which we, as Marshalltown Fire Justice Campaign, put squarely on the shoulders of the city of Johannesburg, notwithstanding the confession of the person who admitted to have set the building on fire, because all that he admitted is that he triggered the fire. It doesn't explain how does the fire that was meant, we are told, to burn a building, to burn a corpse, in a very cruel manner, for which we want this individual to be held fully accountable to the maximum prejudice of the law. Him and the people that were responsible for the murder that they tried to cover up. But their actions only explain what triggered the fire. It doesn't explain how the entire building got into conflagration. Now, that we put on the city of Johannesburg, but treatment on also what the city has done since that time, including a Denver settlement. Now, we have a situation wherein, the court orders are only for 6 months, but they've known about the agency of the need to install, particularly in a context where the settlement was constructed during the rainy season, that they need to install or they need to build the stormwater drainage system, because what is the result? The result is that this community gets flooded, and let's just take your viewers into what the flooding in this situation means. It means, basically, the whole shack, in and out of the shack, the water is meter long, and the water engulfs the bedding, the food, and everything that people have. People spend their whole night on their feet. Just imagine, when you and I are sleeping, people are standing on their feet. And this includes many of these people are elderly people who can barely walk. They spend the night, many of them, on their feet. These people include people with disabilities. These people include single mothers with children who will be standing on their feet carrying their children for the better part of the night. That is what flooding in this situation actually means. Never mind that people would lose everything that they have, because it's not like you have an elevated bedding that you have. It's mattresses and so on that still has to be on the same floor that is underwater. So it gets destroyed. People have to rebuild their lives. For people that are traders, they have some of their stock in the shacks. It means they lose also the means of livelihood. So it's a real tragedy that people should not underestimate the impact. And this, we think, speaks to a government that is having a bureaucratic indifference to the plight and the suffering of the poor, that is a contempt for the working class and the poor. And of course, in this, a contempt for cost that has made an order to say that they've got to address the plight and all the risk factors that we've raised during the relocation and which we made the order of court.
So tell me, my understanding was that when the victims of the Marshalltown fire were resettled or were given the settlement in Denver, it was supposed to have been some form of temporary shelter and settlement. Was the master plan not to get them more suitable accommodation in the inner city? Was that not the whole idea?
That is certainly our demand, that we need an upgrading of the facility, including the so-called hijack buildings, for which there's about 220 something of these buildings, which if they are fully upgraded and, meaning, painted, patched where there are cracks and provided with services like water, electricity, rubbish collection, all of that, this building can immediately be a source of a decent housing and a decent accommodation for many of the city's poor people. We want a mass public housing program that will address informal settlements across the whole of the city of Johannesburg. There is a housing backlog of 500,000 house units in the city of Johannesburg, and the city is only building about 2,500. And to put that into perspective, what it would mean is that at the rate at which the city is actually building houses, it will take them 200 years just to overcome the current backlog. This does not even take into account the fact that the city of Johannesburg's population is growing by approximately between 120 to 150,000 per year, which translates into 1.5 million over a period of 10 years. So there is absolutely no hope on the basis of this neoliberal austerity program, and of course, capitalist government of the ANC, but also of their many coalition partners, as well as the entire political establishment that is committed to the same policies. So they are saying is temporary, but we know, me and you, that all of these checks that we see across the city of Johannesburg, many of them were meant to be temporary accommodation. Temporary with this government is actually a permanent, and that is the reason they will not tell you where is an alternative permanent accommodation. They say temporary. They say we'll provide emergency accommodation as soon as you, as journalist, your cameras turn away. That situation becomes a frozen permanent condition of squalor in which our people are living.
So, Mametlwe, I spoke about the very same situation approximately 2 weeks ago with an attorney regarding the rehabilitation of inner city buildings so that the backlog of housing can be addressed. Are you joining forces with other such organizations to put pressure on government to start rehabilitating those empty buildings so that our critical housing situation in the inner city and in the greater Johannesburg can be resolved? It will be resolved if those buildings are rehabilitated.
I mean, you would know, I'm the president of General Industries Workers Union of South Africa myself. We created this campaign, the Marshall Transfer Justice Campaign, to look at the issue of justice for the victims, for the survivors. We want them to be compensated. We want government to help them to rebuild their lives. But more than that, we want to also address the broad issues behind this and many other disasters that we have seen, right? Since the Marshall Tower. I mean, there's another building that was gutted by fire. 2 people lost their lives, some were injured. But we also know about many other of these incidents. But even beyond the issue of the inner city, we know, I and you know, that we report about what is happening in the inner city. But the reality is, these disasters, these tragedies, are actually a permanent state of life in many informal settlements, where again and again, the poor have to be burying their loved ones because of the fire, because of the flooding, because of the storms, and all these other disasters that speak and shine light to a very graphic and horrific condition of a housing crisis in this country, in all the major urban centers. We have created this campaign to be able to highlight those issues. And I've already outlined that part of it is, yes, we want the rehabilitation of those buildings. We want them to be upgraded. Imagine massive buildings, 224 of them, how they would assist in terms of providing a decent accommodation for the city's poor inside of the city. I mean, people have forgotten that we once dreamt about a country where the black working class will not have to be staying in townships very far away from the city, but that in actual fact, our housing program and our housing policy was supposed to be part of the mechanism to overcome the special planning of apartheid that has condemned many of the city's poor, many of the working class people in this country to places which are very far away from their workplaces, from their means of livelihood, in the case of young people, from accessing schools and so on. I mean, people are staying in the horrific conditions of the inner city, conditions you would not even wish for your pet, not because they like, but because that is the only place they can afford to stay, because that is where they trade, that is where they work, that is where they go to schools. Now, even in emergency accommodation, look at them. Denver is located way out of the city, right? For people who have nothing. There's no means of transport for kids to go to school. When I was there, many kids were saying, we don't know how we're going to go to school, right? That is the main problem. Many of the people have went back. I don't know if you're aware. The building, we've seen this building where 76 people actually were killed by that fire, has been reoccupied. Why would they alive?
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay. Mametlwe, we need
to say, we need to address this. We are uniting with many community civics in this campaign, from townships and others, to campaign for housing and for mass public housing program in the city of Johannesburg and hopefully across the country.
Okay. We're going to have to leave it there. We're going to play out with a video of the flooding there, but also the elections are around the corner. And this is where everyone's vote does count. We do hope you're going to be lending your very, very strong voice together with all the people you are supporting to the upcoming elections to make politicians accountable and to put their money where their mouths, where their mouth is. So hopefully that's going to make a big difference. And thank you indeed for taking this on. Until next time, God bless and take care. Nice talking with
Thank
you
you.
this morning. It
Thank you
is
very much.
it's a pleasure. It's 2 after 10 o'clock exactly. We're going to play out with a video of the incident that's in Denver, the settlement that has been flooded. But let's thank our production team for putting together the show this morning. Thank you for keeping me company. From me till Monday morning, please take care. Allah be with one and all. And it is Khudafis.
Abantu bagcwele emanzini bukani marothima. Asas. Asas. Awu akule nana belele imama. Tanam. Asas abantu baphela lana. Akuzona izindlu lezi. Njokubona impela amanzi agcwele yonke indawo lana abanazi into zokulala bayibeke ngaphandle. Bayibeke ngaphandle into zokulala bayaphela abantu. Na abantu bayaphela nje. Ezansi akusafikeki nami ngisakhona nokuhamba sengisabuthi ngizocwila lapha buka nje amanzi angakanani. Buka nje amanzi angakanani. Buka amanzi angakanani. Buka amanzi angakanani. Buka amanzi angakanani. Bagcwele abantu. Basibovela mawuvula. Agcwele abantu. Buka. Awuqedanga nge-17 ekhaya ubonile. Angafika lapha ezansi nje ish. Ngisho la emarumini la. Angangeni. No, phela amehlela phezulu. La kuyehla khona manje. Mfana bayihamba ngenela phezulu ngo. Ehlala. La. Ish. Ashona la phansi. Usho ungathinta la